Everyone has a story, and so does everything, antique, vintage, or curio.
I've seen only a very few of them, usually in top collections or in auctions. It's not common to find them online or things of that nature.
Like, we've had collections that have sold for, tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Technological innovations, cultural significance, personal memories. What is it that gives each of these unique items their timeless quality?
Can't find these anywhere.
No. Join us as we blow off the dust and breathe new life into the past and the curious. Today on The Past and the Curious, we look back on some of the largest, quirkiest, and most remarkable collections of artifacts that have been featured to date. These impressive displays symbolize the passion, joy, and fascination that drives these collectors to scour the globe, from online auctions to roadside yard sales, in search of even more pieces to add to their collections.
My name is Nick Gilroy, and today I brought in my Red Rose tea figurines that I found at my grandmother's house. I was helping my dad clean out my grandmother's basement, and we came across a lot of different boxes, and lo and behold, we found a box full of these figurines. I'm interested in the Red Rose tea figurines just because I thought they were really cute, the different variety of them, and I just thought that was really cool.
Developed in 1894 by Canadian-born Theodore Harding Estabrooks, Red Rose tea was ahead of its time, using pre-blending and pre-packaging to bring flavor consistency to an otherwise inconsistent industry. As the brand grew through the years, so did its need to set itself apart. Historically innovative, the company pursued an unlikely partnership with Wade Potteries, now Wade Ceramics. Founded in England's Stoke-on-Trent in 1867, Wade began producing miniature figurines, or whimsies, after a cancelled government contract in 1953 forced them to get creative. Made from porcelain, these colorful pocket-sized collectibles were distributed in Red Rose retail packages in Canada beginning in 1967 and in the United States 16 years later. The free premiums, or freemiums, were an instant hit, resulting in unprecedented demand and making lifelong collectors of Red Rose tea drinkers across North America. To date, more than 300 million ceramic figurines have been shared among its consumers.
Nick, thank you so much for coming in today. What can you tell us about what you brought?
So these are figurines that I found in my grandmother's basement. I was hoping that you could maybe tell me a little bit about them today.
I'd love to. Well, these are all Wade figurines, and they were given out with Red Rose tea packages. And you have a couple of different series showing here. In the front, we have these lovely dogs. You have a wonderful set that's almost complete of the nursery rhymes, and then this great little collection of animals.
So who would have made these figurines?
So these figurines were made by Wade, which is in the north of England, an area called Stoke-on-Trent. This area was known as the Potteries because for years, all the pottery in England was really being made in that area. And that's because they had such a rich clay deposit in the region, they were able to produce a lot of ceramics. So in 1953, Wade lost their contract with the British government to make insulators, which are those little things that you connect on a power line. And that's about as much as I can describe about that.
Okay.
And they needed a reason to stay profitable. The government spent so much money with them, they lose this contract, so what are you gonna do? So they came together as a family and they decided to make these wonderful little Wade whimsy figurines, and they partnered up with Red Rose in Canada and they started producing them en masse. They would have been made in England, they would have been all packaged up in their little boxes, sent to Canada, and then in Canada they would be distributed throughout the Red Rose tea factories into the boxes, and then they'd get to your home, you'd open up your tea box, you'd find your little figurine, and then you'd get that exciting moment of, is this a new one? Do I already have this one? Does it add to my collection? So Nick, when you look at your figurines, what do they make you think about?
They kind of remind me of when my grandmother had them on the shelf at, her own house when I was growing up. I'm excited to be able to put them on my own shelf and think of her every time I see them.
So Nick, thank you so much for bringing in this great collection. So on the table here, we have about $50 or $60.
Oh, sweet.
So would you ever consider selling your figurines?
I think I'm probably gonna hold on to them, place them in random places around my house, kind of see who notices them.
I think they make great little plant pals. You can put them in with your plants.
Right? Yeah, hey, you read my mind, because that's probably what I'll end up doing as well.
Thanks for coming in today, Nick.
Thanks for having me, Rebecca. So the chat I had with Rebecca today did kind of change the way I looked at them, just because, I didn't know that they came from Europe to Canada. I thought that was really cool.
I love Red Rose tea figurines. Within Canada, just about every household will have a Red Rose tea figurine because their marketing was so good and they just got into everybody's home.
My name is Wayne McKay, and I brought in some of my Corgi and Dinky collection. I've always been interested in cars, but I guess my main interest came as a child when I actually collected them as toys, and did what everybody did, beat them up and play with them and those kind of things, and then carried that on later in life to recollect some of the ones I had and many hundreds more. So it's sort of been a lifelong thing.
Typically used in the manufacturing of toy vehicles, the die-cast technique involves pouring molten lead, zinc alloy, or plastic into a mold to render a desired shape. Although the method originated during the 1800s, its use in the production of model cars, planes, and trains didn't occur until the early 20th century, when brands Dinky and Corgi toys arose in Britain. First produced in 1933 by Meccano Limited, Dinky's popularity soared during the post-war period. In response, its competitor, Met Toy, developed Corgi toys, now known as the makers of the best-selling die-cast car ever made, the James Bond Aston Martin DB5. In 1967, Dinky and Corgi sales declined after Mattel modernized the die-cast toy space with Hot Wheels. Corgi products are still available today under the Hornby Railways Company, and even though the Dinky brand was discontinued at the turn of the 20th century, the brand remains synonymous with miniature cars.
Yeah, Wayne, thanks so much for coming in today. I see you brought in a huge collection. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, believe it or not, this is only a small part of it, but it's relatively huge. On the side closest to me here are the Dinkies, which started first, and then on the other side are the Corgis, which came in a bit later in '56. In front of them, a few Huskies and Matchbox, and then Hot Wheels in the front.
Dinky, Corgi, they were just head-to-head almost all the way to the end of the 70s. We have Corgi that comes in, starts putting all these features in the cars that drives the market. We got Dinky playing catch-up.
When Corgi came in 1956, they kind of took the die-cast world by storm. They advertised as the ones with windows, which is the first thing you notice. Unlike these Dinkies without the windows, the Corgis right from the beginning had windows. And perhaps most significantly for them, they identified and connected with celebrities like James Bond or Batman.
Yeah, very true. Corgi was always the leader. Unfortunately for Dinky, playing catch-up meant sales suffered. It was a legendary rivalry between these two companies. However, neither one of them finished first. Because if a new player came on the market, Hot Wheels, they basically have dominated since the late 60s, have dominated the market even till today. So Wayne, looking at the condition of the toys that you brought in, fantastic. If I look at the table, everything in front of us today, the condition, the fact that we do have a reproduction box, everybody would want these. The scarcity of some of the pieces that you did bring in today, if I was to evaluate the whole table, you'd be well over $3,000.
Nice to hear that. Glad to hear that.
Any plans for the future with it?
I guess I would like to leave some of them to my kids. I hope to pass some of it on to future generations.
Wayne, it looks like your grandkids or great-grandkids are going to have quite a collection coming their way eventually one day.
Like many things that people collect, I think part of the value of this is to take you back in time. There are things that make you remember your childhood. And I think there's always the hunt. You're always looking for another one or a new one or a different one. And I'm getting to the point now, if I add, I pretty well have to subtract because I don't have much room left.
Coming up on The Past and the Curious, Case gets illuminated by a collection of 20th century lighting instruments.
It's actually advertising toothpaste.
Toothpaste, oh, I like it even more.
Then Bridget explores the surprisingly hazardous history of hat pins.
It only takes one jab to deter that unwanted attention.
That's true. My name is Seamus Leduc, and I brought in my matchbook and lighter collection. When I was little, I was really into survival, and I kind of got into matchbooks and lighters because of that. I get most of my lighters and matchbooks at flea markets, yard sales, and antique stores.
The world's first recognizably modern lighter was invented by German chemistry professor Johann Wolfgang Dobereiner in 1823. The convenience made it incredibly popular, even though its fuel, a combination of sulfuric acid, zinc, and hydrogen gas, was known to be unstable and spontaneously combust. With obvious flaws, manufacturers jumped at the chance to refine the mechanics. At the same time, matches were being developed in England by chemist and apothecary John Walker. His final product, released in 1827, featured friction matchheads dipped in a potassium chloride antimony sulfide paste that triggered combustion when scratched against sandpaper. At the turn of the 20th century, Austrian inventor Karl Auer von Welsbach introduced portability with his innovative flint lighter. Between the 1930s and 1970s, recognizable names like Zippo, Gillette, and Bic entered the lighting instrument industry. Zippo offered consumers lifetime warranties, but Gillette brought butane to North America with its infamous Cricket lighters, which, along with Bic, were a disposable alternative for consumers. Modern lighting instruments vary in terms of sophistication of technology and style. For that reason, plus their accessibility and small size, they make ideal collectibles alongside their vintage and antique predecessors.
Well, thanks for coming in today, Seamus. What did you bring us today?
Well, I have an assortment of fire lighting instruments. This is a table lighter, an IMCO lighter, a classic Zippo, and various matchbooks advertising various things. And here we are now.
You're a collector now.
Yep.
Why do you think there is so many different varieties? I mean, we have a lot of them here.
Well, they were produced all over the world because back in the day, everyone was smoking. So it was a great way to advertise because they'd be opening the matchbook 10 times a day maybe.
Yeah, there was a cheap, effective way to get your name out there advertising-wise. My favorite is definitely the Swamp Thing. It's great graphics and it's kind of mysterious.
It's actually advertising toothpaste.
Toothpaste, oh, I like it even more. I think it's a great collection. It's fun, it's mechanical, it's colorful, it's everything you want in a collection.
So, Case, when were the first matches invented?
They were invented in 1827 by John Walker. He was an English chemist and apothecary. Now these matches, they were advertised as friction lights, and they were basically just chemical paste that was applied to the end of a stick. Lighters were actually invented before matches were. By about 4 years, there was an Austrian chemist, and he actually developed the flint wheel lighter. Well, thank you, Seamus, for bringing in this great collection. It's great to see such a variety. With the little collection that we have in front of us, in the condition that they're in, I would probably put a value of the grouping at $125.
That's just about what I was thinking the price would be at. I really like collecting them, so I think I'll keep collecting them because they mean a lot to me.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I would do. I think the enjoyment you get out of collecting them is worth a lot more than that $125. But you can collect a little more. I brought you a gift today. That's a World War II trench lighter.
Oh.
And if you see it is engraved with the fella's name on it.
Oh yeah. Thanks. It'll go straight to my collection and it's on display.
That's great. Enjoy.
If I stop by a flea market or someplace, I'll probably just pick up a lighter if it's a good deal, and if I see a cool one, I'll get it. With every lighter I collect, it's a little part of history.
My name is Diane Koopman, and I brought in my hat pins and hat pin holders. I just like the diversity of hat pins and how they came to be different over time. And the hat pin holders, well, they just have every shape and size and variety.
In the 1400s, married Christian women covered their hair with wimples. These cloth wraps required pins to secure them, thus giving birth to the hat pin. Hat pins began serving fashion alongside function in the 1800s, but the long, intricately decorated accessories were time-consuming to produce. Growing demand strained local makers until 1832, when mass manufacturing machines were introduced in America and eventually spread to Europe. The new technology gave rise to jewelers like Charles Horner, an artist now featured in New York's Metropolitan Museum, and Charles Louis Tiffany, founder of the world's leading luxury design house, Tiffany & Co. By the early 20th century, hat pins were in vogue and inflicting pain. While the suffragettes were on board with the accessory's newfound self-defense element, the police established unenforceable laws on the length of hat pins until evolving trends and modern post-war styles naturally resolved the threat.
Diane, thank you so much for coming in today with this incredible collection. Can you tell me what we are looking at?
We are looking at hat pins and hat pin holders.
How did this mind-blowing collection come into your possession?
Well, we have an antique business and we bought some dressers and they were full of the contents. And I went to empty them and I found 6 of them. And I was like, oh, what are these? And next thing I knew, I was hooked.
I don't blame you. That would have been the best find in a drawer, so I can see how that would have jump-started your collection, and look at you now, wow. In the 1830s, the hat pins actually started to become mass produced in North America, so they became much more affordable. At this point, a number of high-end manufacturers also cropped up in England and North America to really meet that demand. Do you think you might have some of theirs here?
I do. They're Charles Horners.
Oh, wow.
All three of those are Charles Horners.
They really jump out as being special among the lot.
I love collecting my hat pins and holders. Women eventually used them as weapons. They would use them against people attacking them. There's cases of people being murdered because they were stabbed through the heart with hat pins.
Whoa. You know, it only takes one jab to deter that unwanted attention.
That's true.
Once they became shorter due to regulation and fashions really changed, it was only a matter of time before they kind of phased out altogether. Diane, taking into account the size of your collection, the rare pieces, the holders, everything together, I would estimate the value of this collection as a whole to be $4,000.
No way.
Yes way.
$4,000?
Yeah,
Wow.
you have quite the collection, and I understand you have even more at home.
I do have more at home. These are the best though, and the showiest. Yeah.
Diane, would you ever consider selling your collection?
No. I told my kids that they're gonna have to split them up evenly, and my son says he wants no part of them.
I hear that all the time, but he'll come back.
For anybody watching this segment, I would really like them to think about the history of them and how we don't have them anymore, but they were a valuable part of our history.
Coming up on The Past and the Curious, Bridget looks at an impressive collection of film cameras featuring iconic models from major brands.
All of these would look so good on a shelf.
Then she admires fairy buttons popularized during the late 19th and early 20th centuries.
I would say I have over 50,000 quality buttons.
My name is Jordan Conrad, and today I've brought in my camera collection. Being a fan of photography and videography, I'm also sort of drawn to the vintage cameras just because of their haptic feel, and I like having to slow down.
Developed in 1816 by Francis Joseph Niepce, the photographic camera used silver chloride-coated paper to capture crude images, the first ever being a view from its inventor's window. A decade later, Niepce and his collaborator, Louis Daguerre, produced the world's oldest surviving print using Niepce's heliographic process. In 1888, the first commercial version, the Kodak No. 1, was developed by American entrepreneur George Eastman. Its release was groundbreaking, but his follow-up 12 years later was a hit. The Kodak Brownie allowed users to switch out their own films for the first time and launched the first wave of amateur photographers. By the mid-20th century, shutterbugs from every corner of the globe were exploring their surroundings from behind the lenses of cameras like the compact 35mm and Polaroid's Instant Model 95, and, with the rise of digital and smart technology, now contribute an estimated 1.81 trillion photos to the world every year.
Jordan, thank you so much for coming in today with this absolutely incredible camera collection. Can you tell me a little bit about what I'm looking at here?
Yeah, for sure, it's my pleasure. So this is a variety of cameras that I've accumulated recently. I studied film and I developed a love for film and photography as well. So I just sort of pick things up as I find them. This is a Linhof Technica press camera. Over there is its partner, a more modern press camera, if you want to call it modern.
It's still pretty vintage looking, very cool.
They both were used for newspaper photography. We have two twin lens reflex cameras, or TLRs, on top. These were popular in the 1950s. I would say it was probably the peak popularity. This was also popular in around the 50s. That's a home movie camera, and then its big brother, the Bolex film camera.
Ooh. So
that takes 16mm film as opposed to 8mm, and it was more of a high-end item. You could still use it for home movies. It was common for that, but it was a higher end thing that really more enthusiasts would get into.
All of these would look so good on a shelf. For me, where I only sell for decor value, I never really know if they're working well. I'll often have my husband tinker with them, and he can usually tell based on the shutter if they're in decent working condition, and then that will base my price. Jordan, thank you again so much for coming in today with this really spectacular collection of vintage cameras. Would you ever consider selling your camera collection?
I think so. Maybe not the whole thing, bits and pieces. That's kind of a good thing about it being a collection, is I can let go of some things and hold on to others. I'm particularly connected to my movie cameras, so I would probably keep my Bolex.
Looking at the value of everything on the table here, on the low end, I would price it at about $1,300. But in the hands of the right collector, I could see you getting up to around $7,500 for the collection.
That's a higher number than I thought you were going to say.
It's really an impressive collection.
I'm glad I could show it to you.
Knowing that price point, Jordan, would you possibly be interested in selling any of these cameras today?
I don't think I'm ready to let go of any of them yet. I need to take lots more photos with them first.
I totally understand. It was really cool to see such an incredible collection altogether, especially knowing that they all work. I'm absolutely not used to seeing that in my business, so it was really exciting to learn about them all.
I'm Joanne Irons, and I brought in 2 cards of fairy buttons today, which are just a few of the thousands of buttons I have at home. The buttons I brought in today, I just think are so delightful. They show fairies on flowers, they show fairies being mischievous, fairies in flight, and I just think they're so whimsical that I wanted to share them with you.
Buttons originated 4,000 years ago in the Indus Valley, or as it is known now, Pakistan. Made from shells, these ancient buttons served as embellishments, indicating wealth and social standing rather than fasteners. The button's usefulness developed during the Middle Ages when its critical companion, the buttonhole, was invented. It was a simple progression that transformed how the world dressed, beginning with men who were all in on buttons by the 19th century. In contrast, finicky hooks and lacing continued to burden women's wear until the introduction of mass manufacturing, when buttons became a central feature in female attire, adorning everything from gowns to gloves and gaiters. The button's journey from fashion accessory to fashion essential was revolutionary. Because of their multi-millennial production history, seemingly limitless variation, and easy to accumulate size, buttons are considered by many collectors to be the perfect item.
Hi, Joanne. Thank you so much for coming in today with this really fun button collection. What can you tell me about it?
Well, we're looking at some of my button collection, antique buttons, and some modern ones too. The ones I picked to show you today are fairy buttons. When my daughter was little, we used to have a fairy fixation at our house. We used to have fairies visiting us. So they were just kind of a fun way to share, again, with my daughter, some of the fairies that we might be able to find in our dell. The fairies were created in different countries. The one I have down here is made in France. It has a Paris back mark and it's a French tight. Some of them are English made and they would have had their molds made. This one happens to follow one of Shakespeare's plays. So they were popular that way. Some of them are German made, and again, they may have molds that were similar to the British, but they would tweak them just a little bit so that they would be different. Some of them are more modern, such as the ones up here, which are also made in England, but they're made of China. And some of them are enamel. The one down here is a French enamel, and the one up here is an enamel made by a Canadian artist. 100 buttons can fit in your hands.
How many do you have?
Well, I would say I have over 50,000 quality buttons. And they are my obsession. I used to collect other things, but now I pretty much just focus on the buttons.
I would say, looking at your collection, you've got a real variety here, a couple modern ones, but some really fantastic antique models as well. I would estimate the value of your collection to be around 750 Canadian.
Nice, thank you.
Now, knowing that value, are you thinking about selling your collection?
No, buttons aren't for sale. I love them too much, and I love the research that I put into them.
I don't blame you. It is such a fun collection. No matter how wild you may think your collection is or your interest, there are other people out there who have the same passion, enough to even have a worldwide society.